Your body can't determine the difference between the pressure you might feel for an exam versus the pressure you might feel in the bedroom.
Really? And the AFL's got a body count of 11.
We are capable of doing bad things, even though we think and probably are good people. But in the long term, the regret can really eat us up.
You said like the guy who might not want to do this, who might not want to get a high body count, but that's what society says. You'll probably end up pushing your own boundaries as a guy.
We see sex as a performance. I do have a soul.
An online petition has gone viral.
Concerns that teach us consent has with the algorithm.
To mandate holistic and age-appropriate consent lessons.
Teachers' consent's relatable, trusted, and actually so useful.
And incredible people at Teachers' Consent.
Oh, hey, that's us.
Oh, hi. Welcome to the Teach Us Consent podcast. Make sure you follow us wherever you're listening. You can get notified when a new ep drops. And you can give us a rating. 5 stars would be preferred. My name's Anthony Stefanos. With me is my co-host Tess Fuller.
Hello.
And our producer Annabelle Kableen.
Hi.
Hi, Belle.
On the Teach Us Consent podcast, we chat about how social media, the news and pop culture influence our understanding of sex, relationships and consent. And what's on today's ep, Tess?
On the menu today, first up, we're going to talk about a website that allegedly lets you check a woman's body count. What's that all about? Secondly, we're going to have a chat about an absolute make or break of a good relationship, accountability, and talk about the times that we've done it really well and times that we've kind of messed it up.
And sitting in between all that will be the quickie. It's sort of a little palate cleanser. Belle, you run it. What's that all about today?
We're going to be talking about performance anxiety in the bedroom.
Oh, I cannot wait for
Okay,
this.
interesting.
And before we get into it, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we're recording, the Gadigal people, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. And just a heads up that we do talk about some sensitive topics in the episode today, such as sexual violence. So please do listen with care and compassion for yourself and feel free to switch off at any point. And there'll be support services in the show notes should you need them.
Check Her Body Count is an AI website that has been created to essentially do what it says, says on the tin.
Yeah.
What's that saying?
The last
It
bit.
does what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
That's what that website is claiming to do. So if you paste a woman's Instagram account into Check Her Body Count, it claims to scan her followers, analyze her pictures and cross-reference her DMs, all to come up with a number that is her body count. Ultimately, though, it is just making up a number. It's not doing any of these things.
Exactly. I've put one of my friends' accounts who is on private, therefore there's like no way for them to analyze. And that came up with a number which I know just must be off. And you put the AFL account in.
Yeah, and the AFL's got a body count of 11.
That's what my friend had as well. Maybe that's the going rate.
Yeah, I mean, I actually got 11 for a lot of. I think there's some definite flaw. The whole website is flawed, not just its ability to actually accurately assess this, which we will get into. But would you mind getting into like the definition and just the origin of body count?
Okay, so body count, colloquially, we might refer to the number of people that someone has had sex with or been intimate with. But originally, the imagery that comes to mind when I hear the word body count is people being killed at war. And that kind of is the origin as a measure of like military success. And then it also apparently was a statistic to gauge progress in a battle, like comparing the body counts of the people that have been lost at war. So I don't know how the hell we ended up, reducing sexual partners to that, that metric as well.
It's also used in video games, right? Like your body count when you're playing like...
First-person shooter games.
Yes,
I believe is the umbrella term. But there's also like a very gendered kind of double standard that comes with the phrase body count. So like for men to have a high body count, you often actually do probably hear it referred to the same way you would in like a military context, like conquests. The higher the better kind of thing. You are winning.
Which tells us everything about how we're socialized men to see sex as like a conquest, right?
Yeah, of course. And then also like for women, if we take this example of check her body count as an example, if the body count is 11, it accompanies it with a message saying getting around, like she's getting around, or 43, for instance, was another number I saw pop up when I put in GQ's Instagram. So GQ's a menace, according to the website.
Menace.
Wow.
Up to no good.
So the body count is just one of the most common ways I think we see women valued or devalued in society.
Yeah, and online, obviously we are seeing like the most extreme version of this where you're supposedly analysing people. But offline, we talk about it all the time too. So I want to chat about how that might affect us. The fact that it's even talked about.
So I want to speak about our relationship with our body counts and like whether we still keep count or whether we've stopped keeping count in a sec. But first, I just want to rip through a few examples from online and in real life as to how like body count is referred to. And the first one is from the Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary on Netflix, where there's a grab of someone saying that women store DNA from their past partners and that it means a child their future child may look like an ex-partner, not the partner they've had the child with. But that's just not true. In the study they're referring to, it's like hypothesized that there may be a link between past partners and DNA living in the body. It's completely untested, but it's said with certainty in the documentary. And the message it gives across is that like a woman having a high body count equals mutations in her child in the future.
Oh, sorry, even one body count of one slept with one other person.
I guess in theory, yes, that is what they're saying. And that's the message it's giving out to, as we know, the audience of the Manosphere, predominantly young boys. Another example is from Married at First Sight, where one of the contestants said this, and if you're watching on Spotify, you can have a watch of the clip as well.
She told me her body count history, like how many guys she slept with, and I think it was like 78 or something crazy. But I had to escort her out of the house because...
What?
Yeah,
Did
I
you
sort of
really?
don't want to get HIV here.
Oh, God, Tyson.
Well, it's too many for me. Like, that's a lot of tellywhackers, quite frankly.
A lot of what?
A little what?
Tellywhackers.
Tyson, what is your ideal body count for a female?
I think my ideal body count for a female would be 0, really. You know, I'm not asking for a virgin because I don't, you know, that's
Yes,
nearly
you are.
impossible, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, having a person with a high body count, it's actually pretty dirty.
Do you think if a girl said she'd slept with 80 guys and a guy said that he had slept with 80 girls, do you think that's different?
A little bit. I think a woman can control her urges better than a guy. A guy has high testosterone. You know, we're hunters. We're out there hunting. We're mating. We're doing what we got to do. She should have more self-control. She's not full of testosterone.
You guys should have more self-control.
I just feel like, as well, if a woman has a high body count, chances are she's got daddy issues too.
And so that's obviously like espousing a pretty similar message, but it's not in a niche part of the internet that most people don't really know how to access or whatever. That's on free-to-air television.
Prime time.
Prime time, free-to-air, being said by someone who maybe is in these areas of the internet, but being allowed to go to air by people who sit in an office building in North Sydney. So that's still sending quite a serious message that like women with high body counts are just devalued. And the last example I want to give is more of like a real life one, which I picked up from just like, actually, I'd be curious to hear, have you ever heard the like, she's loose if she's had a lot of sexual partners?
Yeah, totally. Even after 1 or 2.
Yeah, like her vagina will be looser and therefore less pleasurable. That is also a myth. The only thing that can permanently loosen a vagina is pelvic floor strength and maybe aging, not multiple sexual partners.
What about childbirth?
Yeah, childbirth as well.
Well, that's pelvic floor strength.
Pelvic floor strength.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, lucky I got another scientist on the panel with me today. But it's just interesting that like the same logic isn't applied to like someone who's in a monogamous relationship having regular sex. Like that partner is not loose, but a woman who engages in sex with multiple partners, maybe as frequently as someone in a monogamous relationship, is all of a sudden loose.
So true. Caught out.
Yeah. So they're just a few examples of how it shows up online and in real life. And now I kind of want to chat about what our relationship is with our body count. And like, have you ever kept count? Do you still? If you don't, why'd you stop?
Yeah, it was definitely the norm when I was younger to have a list, which you could then use to ascertain what your body count was. I had a list on my notes app. It's uncomfortable to say. Not proud of it now, and it's not something that I am still doing. One of my friends had a more elevated list, and she had like a legend or a key where if the person had a star next to their name, that was a one-night stand. If it was, say, like a love heart, that was someone that she'd had sex with a couple of times, but it never eventuated. If it was a bloody ring, yep, that's someone she intended on marrying. But she like categorized them based on like the frequency and the intensity of the connection and stuff. Ultimately, like upon reflection, I found the process of having a list kind of dehumanizing to the people that were on that list. Because when you're scrolling through, you're seeing names. You're not seeing like stories or feelings or connections, which is really what intimacy is about for me. And to be honest, like having a list almost maybe pressured me to add more to the list.
Yeah.
In a way, like the, sexual liberation movement that's come alongside feminism has been really great for women in many ways. One of the things that I picked up as a teenager was like this idea that actually it can be really empowering for women to have sex, and it's not shameful to want to experience pleasure. But what it also did was probably like rocket me into having more sex than I actually wanted to, because at the time I was like, well, this is liberating, right? Because I'm allowed to sleep with people now. And if someone calls me a slut, then that's not fair. And I won't, I won't stand for that. It's just not the social order anymore.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point. I reckon now that you've said that out loud, the like having a list made you want to increase that list. I relate to that.
Yeah.
And I think I attach a lot of self-worth, I reckon, to my list. And then I think now when I like get icked out that someone keeps a list, it's because I'm assuming they're doing what I did, which might not be true, but like I didn't like that I was doing that. And then eventually, I eventually stopped because I like saw, this is maybe the dumbest reason to stop ever, but there was this Italian saying that like lovers, glasses of wine and years should never be counted. And I was like,
It took some nonna spitting bars to make you stop with your body count list.
now, obviously, maybe, we all still count years, so I haven't stopped counting my age. And, you should count the amount of alcohol that you drink.
Yes, especially
but
for getting behind the wheel.
Decided to get rid of the lovers part. I actually backed that one.
Yeah, I also felt like having a list was almost a quantifiable measure of my desirability at the time. So I could look at the list and go, wow, look how many people found me hot, sexy, cool enough to want to have sex with. And then there was a time in my early 20s where I just like stopped having sex completely for about a year. And I tried not to like equate that to the fact that I was undesirable. Like that was a choice for me to stop doing that. It was really interesting. I was remembering this morning that a friend of mine a couple of years later was like, I'm going to try abstinence. Like I'm going to try not having sex. And I was like, oh yeah, like I did that. And she turns to me and goes, did you choose to do that? Or was that just because no one wanted to have sex with you? And that reinforces this idea of like, if you're not having sex, then you're not desirable.
Yeah.
But it's completely untrue. Anyway, slight aside.
That's also so relatable. I think I would look at my list and go, yeah, good on you, mate.
Yeah.
And then like during a period where like after I deleted it and like tuned into it, like do I want to, what am I doing this for? And then like didn't sleep with as many people. There was that like had to grapple with, is it because I want to do it or am I not desirable? So it's quite complicated. Do you have what are your thoughts on, or your relationship with your body count?
Oh, I remember that I had the list, like everyone in high school had the list. And I was just reflecting on it then, like it's quite funny because in high school, you've actually not probably had that many sexual experiences. So why are you writing them down? Can't you remember them? Like why do you got to write it down? Maybe if you're like much older and you've had a lot of experiences, you might want to reflect back and be like, oh yeah, I remember this part of my life. But when we were in high school, it's like, that was just last weekend. Like it's all good. I remember.
I think the only way I've like genuinely referred to the phrase body count in like the last few years in like all seriousness was when I had a mouse problem at a share house and like we went to the exterminator, like we want a body count, mate. Like I want to see 6 dead mice when I get home. Okay. And that's it.
Yeah,
so once
no
you
list
sever your
needed.
relationship with it, it's liberating.
Yeah. But I do want to get to the gender double standards because although I've said that like, it was somewhat, I felt at the time that it was empowering for me to be keeping a track of the number of sexual experiences that I had. At the end of the day, it was the opposite of empowering because when I truly drilled down into like, what am I looking for in intimacy, it was connection and mutually lovely experiences. It wasn't another tick on the board. And it really did the opposite for me.
That kind of brings me like the next part that I want to cover here is like how it affects people, this idea of body count and how it's thought about in society. And so like as I said at the start and as we've kind of all touched on, body count is kind of used as a way to like value women or devalue them based on how high it is. And how does that feel for you?
Yeah, logically, I know that this idea that women should have low body counts is really sexist and outdated and that, the number of people that I've slept with says nothing about my worth. But emotionally, I do think I've internalized shame about that, even in the experience of trying to like resist it by having sex with whoever I wanted, if they wanted to as well at any given time. There are subtle things that still show up for me, like second guessing when and how to disclose someone that I've slept with to like my partner or the number of experiences that I've had. And even like caveating sexual experiences from the past with like, oh, I was like being self-destructive, you know, when I had sex with this many people in this period of time, even though I kind of wasn't. I was just enjoying myself and having like consensual sexual experiences. Or even just saying like this idea, oh, it was just a phase and like it's not me now. Like I wouldn't do that now. It's just a phase. And I do find too that as women, we often like will compare ourselves to an ideal woman who hasn't slept with as many people, because as much as we try to escape it, we do have stuff like that idea set on maths on primetime television, and we do have people telling us that we're dirty if we've been ran through, or that we're loose and we're not going to be desirable anymore. What about you?
Yeah, I find myself caveating past periods of life in a similar way, which is interesting because there's obviously far less stigma around like a man having a high body count or just engaging in sexual activity. So I don't really, maybe just feel shame around it myself, but there's obviously been far less pressure on me as a guy to like, think about what my body count might say about me. The other thing I think body count always brings up for people, and you kind of touched on it with like relationships, is like feelings of jealousy. And I think it's so normal actually. Like no one obviously likes to feel jealous. It's a shit feeling. And then like it can often present as kind of shitty. But it, I think, affects everyone in some way, shape or form. And then when you think about it, it's kind of comical that like the idea that a past partner could affect the security of your current relationship.
Yeah.
It's like not even really possible. I just think it is a really normal feeling and worth acknowledging. And like maybe the way you respond and let the jealousy show up is what's most important.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're experiencing jealousy about something to do with your partner that you cannot change and they cannot change, then that is your feeling to work through and not something to put on them.
Yeah.
Would we say?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I also just want to touch on the like impossible bind that the pressure to have a low body count and remain pure has on women. Because basically, like if we go, okay, high body count equals low self-worth is the message that women get through purity culture and growing up. But then also when you go to have sex, you are less worthy if you are bad at it because you risk losing a partner. But the only thing that makes you, you know, a good lover a lot of the time is like practice, because practice makes perfect. And how are you meant to learn how to like negotiate intimacy if you don't have the experience of doing so? We're also told that to be respected, we have to withhold sex, and we're like the gatekeepers of sex, and one day we'll give it up to people when they beg enough. But you also have to offer it to be wanted, to be desired, chosen, even like keep someone happy. So no matter what, you risk getting it wrong. If you say no, you're frigid and difficult. If you say no, yes, you're easy, you're a slut, and you lose value. And it makes it so that like we're not asking ourselves, oh, do I want this? When we're going to have intimacy with someone, we're asking ourselves, will this make them stay? Will this make them respect or disrespect me? How will this be perceived by other people? So it's so much less about like what we want as people and more about how it might affect how other people see us.
That is such an impossible bind to have all that to consider, you know?
But then also for men, like it's tough because there is like you freaking legend if you've got a high body count, even though there might be feelings of shame when you then go into to get into a relationship and you're worried that women might see you as an absolute player, you're still like your social standing is better if you've had more sex. And what if you're somebody who doesn't want to do that? Like how did you navigate that pressure growing up?
I probably didn't. I probably succumbed to the pressure, which then led me to like that period of my life where I was a bit more in tune with like, oh, what do I want actually, rather than what would get me social clout or social respect. And so, yeah, I actually probably didn't really know how to deal with it other than being like separated from the environment that I was in that maybe led me to feel that pressure. Not a knock on like any friends or anything. I just actually don't have an answer on like how to deal with it. I probably wasn't a strong enough individual to like march to my own beat for a while there.
That's so fair. Like the social pressures are really real. And speaking of those, I wanted to know from you, like, how do you think the social pressure on men to increase your body count can encourage you to push past people's boundaries to get what you want or what you're told you deserve?
Well, I think it would definitely have an effect that like that social pressure does lead people to push boundaries. And like we spoke about it in the last episode where we were talking about porn, a bunch of no's, they're not really no's because it'll eventually be a yes is what porn is telling us. So like you take that into your real life experiences and the pursuit of social respect might lead you to push someone's boundaries because you want to go further, you know, because it's, oh, did you just get a hand job?
Couldn't seal the deal, mate.
Couldn't seal the deal, keep trying kind of thing. And then I think that also actually lends itself to this point of like, you said like the guy who might not want to do this, who might not want to get a high body count, but that's what society says. You'll probably end up pushing your own boundaries as a guy and not respecting your own boundaries if you don't want to do it, but you keep doing it because that's what, you know, peer pressure is making you feel. And then if you don't respect your own boundaries, you're probably not going to respect someone else's boundaries. And if you cross your own boundaries, it's shit. But if you cross someone else's, like, it's sexual violence.
So true. And then on the women's side, we're socialized to let our own boundaries down to please other people. So you've got this like dynamic where one person's pushing, the other's relinquishing, and neither people's boundaries or preferences are being respected. And that is the exact environment where sexual violence can occur.
Okay, so the quickie before we chat about accountability. This sits in the middle, a little bit of a palate cleanser. Belle, what have you got for us today?
I wanted to talk about performance anxiety, which is something that happens to a lot of people when they're having sex. Basically, they get really nervous and maybe it means that they have some problems with arousal or with orgasm or something like that. So essentially what it is like this anxiety creates a performance mindset. So it makes you self-conscious. You have problems with intimacy because you're seeing it as a test rather than as pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you said performance anxiety, I was like, oh yeah, like what I experience when I have to sit a uni exam.
Well, this is actually true. Your body can't determine the difference between the pressure you might feel for an exam versus the pressure you might feel in the bedroom.
Really?
Yeah, like it's the same feeling, same sensation.
I guess that makes like scientific sense.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, I almost wanted to jump in as soon as you said performance anxiety to be like, oh yeah, I relate to this.
But I wanted to talk about what happens physically. So as I mentioned before, like your body can't tell the difference between that a stress response of like being in an exam or a stress response of being feeling pressure sexually. When you're experiencing that stress response, your body will redirect blood flow to your brain rather than like your genitals, because it's like we need to think about this threat or fear that we're experiencing, right? So that is like physiologically what happens for people.
Yeah.
And then the very fear that it will happen can kind of create a trigger or a loop that it will happen again the next time that this like experience happens. Same as like if you're scared of public speaking, you're worried that you'll mess up next time. It's the same kind of thing. And it can really make people like even avoid having sex altogether to not feel those feelings.
That feedback loop is so relatable. I've certainly had like chats with mates where we've spoken about stuff like this, and we are all sometimes like feeling the same things or going through little patches where we get in our head, and it feels like a funk because you just like got to somehow get out of the loop.
Break the cycle.
Yeah, somehow. And I think having like this explanation, sorry, I know you'll get back to it in a sec, but having the explanation of it is so helpful because like with past partners, like you can probably feel, or it's been expressed to me that it feels personal, like, oh, you're not into this anymore, you're not into me. Oh my God. Like that's not the case, but I don't know how to...
I'm so into you, I want this to work.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain this, and I hate the idea of like letting you down or like making you think that. But like something, it's not that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to explain it. And this is like really helpful.
Well, that's good. I want to describe another situation that like comes with performance anxiety. I'm just going to describe it to you and tell me if you can relate to it.
Okay.
It's something called spectatorship, which is a sex therapy term that was coined in the 1970s from these two researchers. And I'll pop that information in the show notes. But essentially what it is like when you're having sex, you are watching yourself and judging your performance from the outside. So you're fully removed from the experience and the sensation that you're having and the partner that you're with, because you are just thinking about your performance. So like, am I hard enough? Am I going to last long enough? Am I lasting too long? Is she going to come? Am I going to come? Like, is she bored? Am I bored? Like, you're not actually in the moment.
Yeah. Is the linear trajectory of like panting continuing to go up, or it's not? What's happened? What have I done wrong? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Am I not good at this? Is she not impressed? Out of the body.
Yeah. Have you
Yeah.
guys ever experienced that idea of like looking down at yourself?
I feel
rather
like
than
I
being in
experience
it?
that every single day moving through the world as a woman. Like not just being like not being naked or having sex. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm ordering a coffee and there's someone to my right, I'm going, and what are my angles like on the right? Am I looking cute? Which is the male gaze, I think, at play. I have experienced this a little bit during sex.
Yeah.
And it's pretty shit because it takes you fully out of your body.
I think I struggle to like immediately relate to it because I think of it as like this magic moment where I'm like floating over and seeing myself. But like ultimately like it's not being present, right? And just
Yeah, it's not, you don't have to fully like levitate out of your body and
Yeah.
like look down. It's more this idea of like treating what's happening, like judging it while you're doing it, like reviewing
Yeah.
yourself while you're doing it rather than just
all the time.
doing it.
Okay.
All the time.
Yeah. And I think the reason that happens is because we see sex as a performance. And
Why is that?
I think it's because of porn. Because
yeah?
porn is literally a performance.
Pray tell more.
So we've talked a little
Yeah.
bit on previous podcasts, which you can hear more about this, but porn follows like a very specific script. And it's literally a performance. They're making entertainment and it's supposed to be this like very engaging thing. And when we use that as our like baseline for how we think our sex life should be, we follow that script and we follow that. We want to try and emulate that performance. And a lot of the stuff that we see in there, like constant orgasms from the woman. The man is always lasting for hours and he's rock hard the whole time and it's not a big deal and he has heaps of control. Like we expect that to be the way that we will also perform, fully excluding the fact that that's not how it actually is happening for those porn performers in real life. That's just the edited version that we're seeing. So I think that's why. But I do have a solve.
Oh,
I
pray
was
tell
just sorry,
again.
I reckon I just like did spectatorship and was thinking about like how do I fix this? So please.
Well, the very way to stop spectatorship and stop that like performance idea is to literally check in and have conversation and consent. Because the minute that you break that script, that feels kind of like stepping out of the character that we're trying to emulate from porn and saying like, hey, are you into this? Or like, hey, I'm a bit in my head. Do you mind if we just pause for a second? Or like, hey, do you like this? Are you having a good time? Or would you like me to do something different? Or can I get a glass of water? Do you mind? That fully breaks that haze or that like, you know, story that we're trying to live in and brings you back into the moment, makes you more present again.
Yeah. So true, because I never would have like a spectatorship experience when I'm talking to a friend,
Yeah.
but I'm not performing. But like sex kind of is a conversation in a way as well.
Yeah.
Like it's a little dialogue between a couple of people. Maybe if we reframe it as that.
It's music.
It's magic.
It's a duet. It's a duet. It's amazing. I was going to say my instinct in thinking about like breaking the script and saying, oh, I need a break or do you want a glass of water? As helpful as that is, and I think that is a solution, my first instinct is to be like, someone will ask, is something wrong? But then that idea of like, oh, something's wrong or what's wrong comes from the idea that like it's just going against the porn script, which isn't necessarily right. And I think I just wanted to like name that because it would and will feel wrong the first few times. You have to like kind of go, oh shit, as a guy, I'm actually not rock hard 24/7. I need a bit of a break. I'm maybe not so present. Will feel wrong the first time. And then I guess the more you do it, should feel easier.
Yeah, it's the same as like when you first start having sexual experiences and you expect like moving from one position to the next to be this super seamless thing because that's what you've maybe seen on porn. But that's not really what does happen. It's a bit of like, oh, sorry. I'm just going to.
Yeah.
It's that same thing. That feels wrong the first time. But then it's like, oh, this is actually normal. How you say?
This is really validating to hear all that and like have the language to be able to explain that if it ever happens. Not that it will ever happen, obviously. Never get nervous.
I think we know it is going to happen, and that's okay.
All right, guys, accountability. I would say one of the absolute make or breaks of a good relationship or a bad relationship or friendship. Doesn't have to be romantic. There's so much chat online about like holding systems accountable or holding people accountable when we're talking about celebrities who have fucked up, or, you know, prime ministers or presidents, like people who are making decisions that impact people in really bad ways. It's all about like holding them to account. But we're also all responsible for holding ourselves to account in our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think we probably all think of ourselves as good people internally, but like we are absolutely all capable of fucking up, knowingly or unknowingly. And especially in like a cancel culture era where it feels like the moment you admit you've done something wrong, like that'll be it, you're written off.
Yeah.
And you'll have no chance
Public
of,
shaming, notes app apology.
Shamed in the town square kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And instead of owning it because of the fear of all these consequences, it is a lot easier in the short term to just shove it down and avoid accountability and try not to think about it at all, because we're avoiding discomfort. Like we're avoiding confronting the fact that we are capable of doing bad things, even though we think and probably are good people. But in the long term, the regret can really eat us up.
Yeah.
It can erode trust in our relationships. It delays, like puts off repairing the relationship, and it can actually worsen the impact of the original harm.
That last one's so true. I don't think about that enough. It is really hard though to take accountability, and like I'd be pretty keen to explore why we find it hard / think it's hard. Does anything come to mind initially for you?
Yeah, I guess we've already touched on it, but like having to take accountability means having to acknowledge that we've done something bad, which can threaten the way that we see ourselves and the way that we think other people see us. And it's that cognitive dissonance that we encounter that we have to hold between, like, I'm a good person, I try my best, I'm nice to my friends, I'm good to my partner, and I did something harmful. Also, taking accountability requires swimming in the grey between guilt and shame. So guilt might sound like I did something bad, but then shame is a bit more intense. It's like I am bad. I am defined by that bad thing. And that experience can kind of make us like spiral and avoid accountability altogether. I also think like when we admit wrongdoing, sometimes people can make us feel that shame, because instead of going, okay, I love you, you did a bad thing, but I still love you, they'll go, you're a terrible person. How could you do this to me? Like you are evil. So we're also trying to like avoid the kind of confrontation that produces those kinds of feelings.
Well, yeah, it's tough because like even if like that is the truth, you know, that's what I feel like I'm always avoiding. Like I hate the idea that I could have made someone feel bad, or that what I did was a really terrible thing, and how could I do it to that person? And so I'll avoid it, which is like basically I hope they didn't notice kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then if I bring it up, then like I have to face the reality, which is maybe they did notice and they also feel the things that I'm hoping they don't. And I reckon the other reason I personally find it hard, this is like, I have like such an internally strong idea of like my motives when I do something. So I'm like, no, you must have just taken it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of like having to let go of like the idea that doesn't matter what I intended, could have just hurt someone, something I struggle with. And then also just admitting something's my fault, like preparing for work or like trying to get out the door, but like I'm late and then like, oh, the traffic's fucking irritating me. This dickhead driver pissed me off. It's not. I'm actually just annoyed that I dilly-dallied and took too long in the morning. And I don't want to admit that. Yeah, I want to deflect.
Yeah.
Deflecting, that's why probably another reason I would find it hard.
Oh, God. Admitting you're wrong is revolting.
Oh,
I'm famously terrible at it.
I think
So
we all
bad.
are.
And we could kind of go through like a whole list of what accountability is and isn't, and what good and bad accountability looks like. But it might be more effective for us to just share personal experiences. That's what I wanted to do anyway.
Okay.
And I'll kick it off.
Yeah, I
with
was
a
going to
time-
say, put your money where your mouth is.
with a time where I think I did okay. But
We'll be
I
the
want you guys
judges.
to assess. So a very good friend of mine texted me one day, very recently, saying that it makes her sad when she's texted me something about her life and I've not responded. And then instead of responding to that, I'll just send her a text message about something that pertains to me and not actually address what she said above. And I'm like really bad with keeping a track of my messages. I find in a work day it's really difficult to respond to anything that's not work related. But then I will have thoughts pop into my head. And actually, you know what? Bloody hell, I'm already explaining myself and making excuses.
That was going to be my first
Why
feedback.
did no one clock me? Anyway, back to my
Let
story.
the evidence build.
I I immediately responded and I said, "You're so right. I am chronic for this. I'm really sorry. I want you to know that it's not personal. And like, I'm really grateful that you brought it up with me." I explained very briefly why I hadn't responded to her text from from that morning, because I was on FaceTime with my brother, but then reiterated, like, I think I was saying that to her so that she knew it wasn't personal and that I do it to other people all the time. And then immediately she was like, no, that's so fine. So I was like, classic. Like, you've just brought up an issue that you've got with me, and I've agreed and said that is bad from me, and I'll do better. And I think she's now seeing me being uncomfortable with my behaviour and going, no, it's completely fine. And I turned around and was like, it's not fine. And it's okay that it's not fine, and you're still allowed to bring that up with me. And then we held hands and skipped into the sunset.
That's beautiful.
And that was it. And I've been a lot better. So where do you think I went wrong or right?
No, well, I wasn't gonna say wrong. I would think I was gonna say, like, this is a great example of how nuanced it is, because my first instinct was to be like, the excuses, like, she's not gonna care about the excuses. Just don't do it, kind of thing, or just say sorry. And I say that because, like, I clocked that in my story example of making excuses as well. But then I hadn't thought about your point of, like, it was coming from a good place to make sure she didn't feel like it was personal, because it's not.
Yeah.
So it's so tough to be like, you want to say that part to let them know this isn't a thing to you. Like, it's not that I'm disinterested in you, and make them feel okay in that respect. But also, I guess at surface level, it does detract a bit from the apology maybe.
Yeah.
But I think overall, 8 out of 10.
I think it's pretty good. I think it kind of depends, right? Because, like, sometimes, have you heard about this, like, thing of intent over impact?
Mm-hmm.
I actually think when you're taking accountability, it should be impact over intent. But the intent is still relevant context.
Yeah.
So as long as it doesn't overshadow what you're apologizing for or taking accountability for, like, that's relevant context. Like, oh, sorry, I was on FaceTime with my brother this morning, but the impact was that it made you feel uncared for or unheard.
Yeah.
So that's the most important part. Here's a bit of context for you. But as long as that doesn't overshadow the main thing.
Yeah.
Can I go into my example? Because I think it has similar shades of this. I said something that, like, really upset a friend in real life. And, like, I immediately started being like, no, justifying. I meant it this way. You misinterpreted it, blah, blah, blah. Like, immediately went into excuse mode. And it just, I think because I could not stand the idea that, like, it had been taken a different way than I meant it, as just a joke, and couldn't see it from her point of view.
Can I interrupt? Like, you can't stand it because you're worried about what's going to happen or how she's going to see you? Like, why is that so hard?
Well, I didn't want to upset her. Or, like, I could see that she was really upset. And I was like, no, if you can understand how I meant it, the upset will disappear. Which wasn't the case. And, like, we parted ways and I went home and, like, it was unresolved and she was still upset. And I was like, shit. I actually can't control those two things, whether it resolves and whether she stops being upset. And I'm, like, actually not doing amazingly at seeing it from her point of view either, because I'm so fixated on mine. So I just ended up having to, like, text and apologize from a place of, like, accepting, like, whatever this could mean for the friendship, that we're not as close, that it's fractured for a little while, no matter how unfair I felt that was, because I was like, no, I meant it this way. But I just had to, like, apologize from that position and just say, like, you message me when, like, you want to chat more or hang out more, and let me know. But I'm really sorry that I've said that.
I think that's great. I think what I love about that is this idea that we shouldn't apologize to people when we're just expecting them to give us immediate forgiveness.
Yeah.
Like, when you go and apologize for something and you know you've done, you should know that you've done the wrong thing, and that you're not just saying sorry to make the situation better for you, but B, you should be aware that even with your apology, they might need more space. They might not want to continue the relationship. Perhaps you'd fractured it too much.
Yeah.
And it's beyond repair, but you're going to them to show them that you respect them despite having hurt them. But it's not about you. It's about, like, communicating that to them.
The other part of, like, the forgiveness piece was that I was like, I can't control when or how the forgiveness comes. Like, I can apologize. And if forgiveness does come, it actually doesn't just make the whole thing disappear. Like, it's still a thing that might linger there for that person as like, I remember you said this and it really hurt me kind of thing. And like, it won't just be something that's like gone because I convinced her that she interpreted it wrong.
Yeah, totally.
It might simmer down because she's okay with it now, but that's not in my control.
On the flip,
So tough.
So tough. On the flip, I've got a rip snorter example of bad accountability that happened to me. God forbid I share a time I did terribly.
I've got an example of bad accountability too. Just thought I'd lead with the strongest one.
Okay, beautiful. Lead with the positives. Dated this guy in high school. When we were dating, he was great for a couple of months, horrendous for the last few months, like abusive stuff. And many years later, I bumped into him again on a drunken night out, and he tried to apologize to me, but basically all it was like, oh, I've just been thinking recently about, you know, how we were when we were together. Sorry for how it all went down. I was insecure, but we're all good, yeah? And he was so obviously expecting immediate forgiveness, and it was really evident to me that he hadn't actually thought about, you know, how his behaviours and actions had impacted me. He was wanting me to appease all the guilt that he was feeling by telling him that he's all good and we're all good, and there wasn't actually much personal accountability going on. And even I remember, like, within the relationship, when he did do things wrong and I would call him out on them. And I'm not saying I was perfect in that relationship either. Like, it did create an environment of poor accountability on both sides when neither of us wanted to admit that we had messed up because the other person wasn't.
Yeah.
But he would like spiral into self-hatred and self-loathing when I called him out on stuff. So he'd go, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst person ever. Like, I can't believe I did this to you. And then start beating himself up emotionally. And then my attention would go to him to go, no, it's okay. Like, you're not a terrible person. You just did a bad thing. And I still want to be with you. And that meant that all the attention was on him and none of it was on the impact of what he'd done to me. Okay. Which I think is another marker of bad accountability. Like, it should really stay on the person who's been harmed.
What do you reckon you would have needed from him that night out where he said, oh, sorry for how I behaved, we're all good, yeah? What would you have actually have needed, I reckon, in terms of like an apology, or if one at all?
I think I would have needed some examples of like behaviours that he's identified that weren't good. A bit of space for me to share how I felt about it, as opposed to like blah, 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 word vomit, we're all good, right? Like, for him to hear back the impact of his actions, more of a conversation. And then also not a we're all good, yeah, like a I hope you're doing okay, and let me know if you ever want to chat or whatever, but not to ask from anything from me in that moment.
Yeah, it's like a lead the witnessy question. We're
Yeah.
all good, yeah?
Yeah.
You know which answer I want.
Yeah?
Yeah, we're all good.
And that's ultimately what I said. And to be honest, like, we are all good.
Yeah.
But not because of a fantastic accountability, fantastic apology that he gave, because I've just kind of gotten over it and recognised how tough relationships were back in the day, and it's okay now. But yeah,
I would say a bad example of me taking accountability was like a situationship I was in that kind of started under the proviso of that it would end because I wasn't in a place to like have something long term, and then as it progressed, I probably didn't check in with how she was feeling. I just let it roll, trusting that like, you know, this like golden rule from the start. And then she got stronger feelings and I started to withdraw, and that upset her as it wrapped up. And I took the, well, you knew what this is, getting into it kind of route. And sorry you feel that way. I actually can't really remember if I said that. I'm just assuming I probably...
That was the vibe.
That was the vibe. And I think like I was justifying in my head by going, well, I could probably tell she maybe was developing feelings, but whose responsibility is it to call that? Like mine and like stop this, or hers to go, hey, I'm feeling this way, it needs to stop. And I kind of just ignored it and let it roll. And then just probably shifted the onus of responsibility to entirely her. It's like, well, you should have said something, or you knew what this was. It's actually still kind of hard to like, it wasn't like necessarily that bad of a situation, I don't think. It wasn't like too long, but I certainly probably didn't take my share of the accountability for it or responsibility. And I actually don't. I mean, maybe we can discuss what should have been done, but
I'd love
I
to
thought
hear
I'd
upon reflection, like what you think, how you could have handled that differently.
I think I should have just checked in along the way and gone. I felt really weird doing that because I didn't want to presume that someone might have liked me, or I thought that idea was like, again, this is the justification process. I thought the idea of that was like so absurd that someone might actually like me enough to be hurt. But I 100% should have been like, hey, let's check in with where we're at. I still feel the same as the start. What about you? Before we go another 2 weeks or another month. You know what I mean?
I think if you're starting to like notice it, like if you're having those thoughts like, oh, I think maybe we're not on the same page, that's pretty much a sign that you should probably just go, are we on the same page?
Yeah.
But I get what you mean. Like it's tough to do that because you don't want to presume and you also don't want to make someone uncomfortable. Maybe if they don't want to share. But
Even in like just hearing myself say it just then, that wasn't that presumptuous. From what I was just like, I still feel this way at the start. What about you? Just checking in.
Yeah, it's a question, not an assumption.
So I like was avoiding it because I thought it would sound presumptuous. It didn't just then.
were you also maybe avoiding it because you didn't want to hear the answer that you didn't want?
Which was that maybe I was.
Which was that maybe she didn't feel the same as you did and she did have feelings for you because then it would mean you had to deal with that.
Yeah, fuck, that's true. Yeah.
Thanks,
completely
therapist
avoided
Belle.
Yeah.
Sorry, Aunt.
No, but well, it ended up probably hurting someone a bit, and I just could have avoided that by taking a bit more accountability.
Pull your head out of the sand.
Yeah, literally.
Well, thanks guys for sharing. Both of those were really big examples like about relationships or sexual relationships, but we do actually practice accountability every day with our friends or like colleagues or whatever. But it's a really good idea to practice accountability in smaller moments as well, so that when we do have these like bigger problems, for lack of a better descriptive term, it doesn't feel as scary to say sorry or respect someone's maybe not going to accept your apology or whatever. Because it's a bit of a muscle. It's a skill. You just need to keep getting better at it and then it's not as scary.
That's a wrap for today's app. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, follow us on Spotify. Thank you, Tess.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Annabelle.
Thank you guys.
Bye, folks.